Thunderbolts director may take on the X-Men. We got a trailer for Peacemaker Season 2, and our first look at Spider-Noir. All that and more coming up right after this. Welcome to Multiverse News, your source for information about all your favorite fictional universes. With me today on the panel, we have Jay Sisson. What's happening, Jay Sisson?
Hey, not too much. Happy to be here. Multiverse News Tuesdays. We're back.
Tuesday News Day. And Haley Hobbs. What's happening?
We're back. We never left. And we never will.
Well, we did some hopscotching through the week, a little bit.
Jay, I was doing a thing. And now you've ruined it.
We can take it out in post.
I don't know how. And J. Scotty St. Clair.
Is this thing working? Am I supposed to be able to hear you guys? You're talking about your butt. You said I suck. What's going on?
Oh, man. All right. Well, we're going to get into the news pretty quick. But first, we'd like to read a 5-star review. This week, we have it from Ari Carr88. Says, I absolutely adore this show. I started off listening to the MCU cast and then expanded to basically all of Stranded Panda, and Multiverse News is quickly becoming my favorite of them all. The variety of the news hits all the fandoms I'm into, and there is a host for everyone. I love the quirks. Never change, guys. You rock. I like how Ari Carr here didn't identify who the host is for him, because that just always starts a whole thing. He said there's a host for everybody. Yeah, let's say it's for them.
We have not had a good host off in a while. I mean, that's,
yeah, I know.
Let's bring those reviews back. Let's bring the infighting reviews back.
Following all the shows on the network. That's a true fan.
That's right.
It's a real one.
Totally.
Makes me so happy with people when people are, fans of all the things. It's so cool. All right. Well, you guys ready to dive into our first story for this week?
Yeah.
Indeed.
Marvel Studios is apparently very pleased with the positive reviews its latest release, Thunderbolts, aka the new Avengers, is being showered with. As the director, Jake Schreier, is reportedly the studio's top choice to direct the upcoming X-Men film. Said X-Men film remains untitled, but is in active development with Hunger Games: The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes writer Michael Lesslie currently writing the script. All of this seems to be in keeping with the Wall Street Journal's recent reports about Kevin Feige's 10-year plan for the mutants he shared with colleagues. Does the prospect of Jake Schreier directing the X-Men flick after his Thunderbolts showing excite anyone here?
I think we're all excited. Get it? You guys get it, right? It's a pun, but you got to say it out loud to make it work. I think that any Marvel fan is really happy probably with Thunderbolts for the most part right now. The numbers across the board and the reviews are showing that. And so this is an exciting prospect for Jake Schreier probably. I'm not going to pretend like I know his other work, but if we just focus on what he did with Thunderbolts, he took a big group of characters that were complicated, not always, in the place to get along. It wasn't like they were characters that all knew each other, stuff like that. So he made a complicated formula for Thunderbolts work, and it worked really well because this was a film that was like, oh, okay, we're watching the sidekicks and the former characters and the this and that get together. Are we going to fall in love with them? And we did. And of course, X-Men is all about people from everywhere, people and beings from everywhere and every background coming together, forming a team. And so I think from that aspect, he can probably really direct the film super well. I think that what I go back to is thinking about that Ryan Reynolds story we talked about, was that just last week, where he's doing some kind of X-Men thing. And I still think, like, what are we doing with the X-Men stuff? I hope that Feige's plan, I'm sure it will, because I think the X-Men characters are really important to him. And that's where he got his start in these movies from Marvel, for sure. I think that he wants to take care of it. So 10-year plan still makes sense to me. And I think that they're going to really make sure these characters, the most popular Marvel comic book characters and books from Marvel since the 80s, is not that they just started in the 80s, don't come for me, but since the 80s, they've been the most popular books. Like, I think they're really going to take care of the characters. And I think Jake Schreier has shown that he's one of the right people to do that. So we're for this, I think.
I'm on Jake Schreier's IMDb page right now because I was curious too. I was like, what has he directed? And he's got a really interesting IMDb page, and it's a lot more bare than I thought that it would be. He has directed a lot of high-profile music videos. There's stuff in here from like Justin Bieber and Haim and Kanye West and stuff like that. And then you've got these random episodes of television. He did an episode of Dave. He did an episode of The Premise. He did an episode of Skeleton Crew. He did 6 episodes of Beef. And then it's Thunderbolts. It's just kind of like right into Thunderbolts right after that.
Has he not done any movies? I thought he had one feature under his belt, but if it's not on IMDb,
let me go through it one more time.
Robot and Frank.
There it is.
And
that's the one.
I think that's the one.
Paper Towns are the two that I'm seeing.
Oh, yes.
Paper
You're right. Yeah,
Towns.
he did Paper Towns as well. Yeah. Okay.
So it's a pretty small sample size of, especially just Thunderbolts is very different from kind of what we've rattled off here, from the IMDb page. So it's an interesting career trajectory for him. And Haley, I think you're right with the idea that balancing a lot of characters, like, that is a skill, and we've seen certain directors in Marvel have success with this, and then we've seen some of them not. But I'm thinking of like the Russos, for example, are very good at this. Like, they're very good at balancing multiple characters and multiple storylines, and we've seen Marvel do this. They find somebody, they like them, and then they gradually move them up and give them more projects. Like John Watts is a good example. Destin Daniel Cretton is another example. He was supposed to direct Avengers Kang Dynasty before that all imploded or whatever, but still gets to do Spider-Man, and so you've got kind of like that idea of just kind of keeping some of these people around that you like, and I think Jake Schreier seems to kind of be one of those guys. Jeff Snyder, for what it's worth, he did say on his podcast, he's kind of a Hollywood insider that we reference sometimes on here. He said that Marvel did have conversations with Ryan Coogler first before they talked to Jake Schreier about it as potentially being the person to take on the X-Men, but it just wasn't really in the cards for Ryan Coogler. He was very focused on Black Panther 3 and all of that, and we've seen what he's done with Sinners, obviously. So, yeah, I mean, I think if you're looking at this and you're kind of saying, all right, who makes the most sense? Well, yeah, I mean, the guy that did Thunderbolts makes a lot of sense probably for balancing multiple storylines of established, I mean, not established in the MCU, but these are established characters, like people know who they are, and then taking all of these, random ones and then mashing them together and putting them together in a dynamic. It seems like he's got the ability to do that. So I think it's an exciting choice, and I think it makes total sense based on where Marvel is and where Thunderbolts is.
Yeah. My initial response to hearing this was a little bit of pushback in my brain, because I think the pros are he can handle an ensemble movie and can handle and made the hard choices, because we've heard since the movie was released that like there were scenes in the original version of this movie that had a little more meat on the bones for other characters, and they ended up cutting some scenes. I've heard they filmed shame rooms for more of the characters, things like that. But like they cut those things, and I think that's great. As much as I want to see those scenes, and I'm in the same boat as everyone else that I would watch those scenes and love to know what happened. The movie works, I think, really well because it's tight and because it's focused. And I think that an X-Men movie needs to be that as well. So you have to somehow create an ensemble while being a focused film. And so he can handle that. The fear I had was like, just because you can handle one ensemble doesn't mean you can handle another. And the X-Men are a very different kind of ensemble. The themes that happen in the X-Men, I feel like the Thunderbolts is the group hug of it all. It's like, it's very much like Guardians of the Galaxy, a bunch of misfits falling together and sort of just like we're working together and we all kind of like each other and it all works. The X-Men is like a melodrama. They're constantly mad at each other, and there's a lot more. Like Thunderbolts is sort of a one-way ticket from like they're all mad at each other and they slowly come together to respect and care about each other. And like the X-Men is not that. The X-Men is this sort of like topsy-turvy, one guy leaves the team, comes back, fights with, there's love triangles, all this stuff. It's just a different kind of thing. But he also directed Beef, and I think Beef is a really good example of being able to handle like really contentious characters that also seem to have some sort of closeness to them. And I think like that brought me around seeing that he directed Beef as well. I'd forgotten that. So I'm really, really excited for it. I think he's a great director, just like they kept Destin Daniel Cretton around. I'm really glad they're keeping Jake Schreier around in the Marvel house.
Yeah, I can't disagree with any of the points that have been brought up. I think, Jake Schreier really cut his teeth and used Thunderbolts as kind of like a proving ground for him. And not only did he take an ensemble that had, characters of very varying levels of familiarity and audience recognition, but what he was able to do with that ensemble is, to your point, have a story that focused on something real, something tangible, and something substantial in mental health. So while the X-Men don't deal with mental health per se, they are dealing with very heavy themes and identity, and I think he's proven that he's a guy that can do that. In addition to the writer here, Michael Lesslie, I think I'm the only one on the cast that has seen The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes, but I came away pretty impressed with that film and its ability to take characters that I had virtually no familiarity with and have me really feeling for the journeys that they went on, and they are quite the journey. Like, the characters start one way and end up in a completely different place. So all of that is pretty exciting to me. Now, I do have some reservations, but unlike you, Matt, my reservations are not for the impact that this will have on the MCU per se, but I'm actually a little concerned about the impact that it'll have on Jake Schreier as a filmmaker, because John Watts got mentioned. John Watts and Jake Schreier were roommates growing up, going to NYU together. So,
oh wow.
And I like John Watts, and I love Spider-Man Homecoming, and I like the other two Spider-Man films, but I think there is an argument to be made that the filmmaker John Watts got lost to the Marvel machine a little bit. And as much as I would, love Jake to use this opportunity as a springboard and really catapult his career, if he does one X-Men film, great. I just get a little fearful if he gets locked into multiple X-Men films and doesn't really get to leave and explore and do other things, because I think he's a filmmaker that could really spread his wings in multiple genres, multiple franchises, or, bring a unique identity, like Ryan Coogler. I'm really glad that Ryan Coogler has had the opportunity to do things outside of Marvel, and I want that for more filmmakers.
Yeah.
He did Skeleton Crew.
Yeah, Skeleton Crew was his baby.
Yeah. I kind of wonder, too, about the budgets of these things, because, we're going to talk about Thunderbolts box office later, but it's probably going to end somewhere $400 million range, $500 million range maybe, but probably somewhere mid 400. And, you hear that and you're like, oh, that sounds pretty good compared to other films. But when the budget of the Marvel film is what it is, it's actually not that good because you're either breaking even or you are not breaking even. And, and when you do that multiple times in a row, it just doesn't set your franchise up for success. And so I think when you're looking at the future of these films, I think you have to ask the question, like, what does the future of these Marvel productions and their bottom line look like? And maybe we will see a little bit of a budget reduction conversation. And so, here's the X-Men. We want you to direct an X-Men movie, but you're not going to get a $250 million budget to do it or whatever, or something like that. And I think it'll be a hotly anticipated movie. So it's like a weird middle ground, because like people love the X-Men and they haven't been in the MCU, and it's like you're bringing them in and it's got the potential to do this big thing, but it's like, what are we doing with these movies if we sink $200 million into them and then they make 400 or something like that? It's like, that can't go on. So I got to kind of wonder, because Thunderbolts is in that boat. It's like, was the movie a success critically? Totally. Is the movie going to be a success box office wise? Probably not. And so, he's behind that, and then he's got to kind of, okay, here's the next thing. What happens with that? So I think that's something to kind of keep an eye on a little bit, just for the future of Marvel in general. Like, what are we doing with budgets? And then how's that going to pan out when the box office numbers finally get totaled up?
That's absolutely true. But I also think that if the critical successes keep happening, the universe will kind of grow back. Like, it will grow back to a place of success. And I say critical, I mean like audience. If audiences love the movies and they start having these connections, I have faith that it will grow back to where it once was. If it, it's better than spending those $300 million on movies that just people don't care about. They keep failing. I think, and I'm okay with lower budgets if the movies are still good too.
Yeah. And ideally, a big studio would want every blockbuster to turn a profit in its theatrical run. But the reality is, a lot of these movies, they are not profitable in their theatrical run. It's the merchandising, it's the physical release, it's the toys, it's everything else. And with the positive reception to Thunderbolts and these characters, I think there's a strong case to be made that it very well could make up a lot of the money in that avenue.
Yeah. Even just, the toys. Sorry, you said toys. I meant to say like books, comic books, things like that. Sure, these characters will be some characters that people will want to follow from here on. That, it's building new IP. It's obviously not new, but it's putting IP in front of an audience and making them love it and making new people invest in that particular IP. So this, in a way, if it's a really good movie, even if it's not a huge box office success, it's a commercial for everything else they're going to do with those characters for the rest of time,
Right.
We're going to be talking in 20 years about who the new Red Guardian's going to be, and that was not going to be a question like before. All right, this week, DC treated us to the first official trailer for the sophomore season of HBO's Peacemaker, alongside the announcement that it will premiere August 21st. The trailer is jam-packed with gags and characters old and new, with a notable handful of characters from James Gunn's upcoming Superman, like Sean Gunn's Maxwell Lord and Isabella Merced's Hawkgirl appearing. Elsewhere, despite wide-traveling rumors, James Gunn affirmed that Matt Reeves is still set to direct The Batman 2, with his Threads response, "Yes, huh?" indicating confusion at the suggestion of anything otherwise. Gunn also teased a new trailer for Superman to hit the internet on Wednesday, conveniently the day after we record this episode. James's melting pot of DC continuity continues to cook as Superman releases in a mere 2 months. How are we feeling about these added ingredients?
Yeah, I mean, we're getting closer to the DCU kicking off, and so we're going to see a lot more of James Gunn and the DCU in the news as we get closer. And man, I thought the Peacemaker trailer was great. I thought it gave us a look at this character in the DCU, which we knew that it was going to be in the DCU, but it's always been weird. Like anytime people talk about it, James Gunn talks about it, it's like, he's kind of like, it is, but it isn't. And then he starts talking about like everything but this one scene is canon. Mm-hmm. And you're like, what? You stop it. Like, what does that even mean? And so then you get to this trailer and there's characters. There's Sean Gunn's Maxwell Lord, Isabella Merced's there's Hawkgirl. Even Nathan Fillion was there as Guy Gardner in this trailer. Like, and it was really funny. Like they were interviewing him about being on this team, and it was like this like gag of like he's not being taken seriously or whatever. So you've got all that. The trailer worked. I thought it worked on a lot of levels. It was cool to see a lot of these characters again. I really liked the first season of Peacemaker. And then it ends in this weird way where you've got like two Peacemakers, like you've got John Cena turning the gun on himself, and it's like, okay, are we doing a multiverse thing? Are we doing a sort of bait and switch, like I popped over from this universe and now I'm taking your place in this universe type situation? So I thought that was a cool tease at the end to kind of at least give us a suggestion, like, hey, we've got a vision for this of how to hopefully answer these canon questions. But then at the same time, you've got Frank Grillo's Rick Flag in there, and he's hunting him down because he killed his son, but that happened in Suicide Squad. So it's like, okay, how are we going to do this? So I don't know the answer to that, but I thought it was a good trailer. But I really want to talk about this Matt Reeves thing because I'm frustrated by the yes, huh response, to be honest with you, because it's like Matt Reeves, he has apparently had a lot going on, so I'm not dogging him here. But this Batman came out, years ago, and we're still years away from it coming out. And so I think it's a legitimate question to ask, especially as the rumors are popping up among like insiders and scoopers and saying they think Matt Reeves is off the Batman, or it's going to get handed off, or that somebody else is going to direct it. I think it's fair to ask the question, like, what's going on with Matt Reeves? And so for it to just kind of be like, yeah, he's still on it. Why would you even think that? It's like, well, I think that because there's going to be 5 years between movies or something by the time all is said and done, and that's a long time. So, I think it's a fair question, and I think sometimes James Gunn does this. He kind of puts this front on, especially Threads, of like, well, of course, this thing that you think is totally not true or correct, but then you find out years later, like, well, actually, it kind of was. Like, we've seen this with Henry Cavill and the whole thing, and we saw this with like Gal Gadot and the whole, is she going to be Wonder Woman? We talked about it, but no, we didn't. And sometimes we see this with him. So I thought that was weird. And again, it's like, I know he said, yeah, he's still on it, but if you told me tomorrow Matt Reeves is no longer directing the Batman 2, I'd be like, yeah, of course, makes total sense that he's not. So, and I hope that doesn't happen, because I love what he's done, but still, it's just, I think it's a fair question that it was kind of ignored, personally.
Mm-hmm.
I think that he thinks he's possibly protecting people when he does things like that. Like, I think this is me just speculating. I don't know how James Gunn is as a person. I think all celebrities are crazy on some level because you'd have to be, right? But like, I do wonder if he tries to protect like not only the person but the project by being vague on purpose and just trying to keep it like maybe he thinks he's trying to keep us guessing. Oh yeah, I'll keep them on their toes. Like that's just kind of the impression I sort of get from his PR on Threads, because he's just always walking that line of did I or did I not say that, or is that real or not? Like you'll never know. And I don't know that I think that if that's what he's trying to do, maybe that's kind of him, but I don't know that it's the most effective strategy, especially when you're the co-head of the studio now. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Maxwell Lord, where's the stone? That's all I got on Peacemaker.
Think about Kevin Feige doing that, like tweeting at people on Threads, getting into Threads fights. It's like, no, of course he's not.
Yeah.
I appreciate that interpretation because I think it's a little more optimistic, and I do want to give James the benefit of the doubt. But to me, it kind of comes across like I ask a question and now you're making me the asshole. It's like, don't make me the asshole. Like, there's a reason this question's being asked. So I had the thought, do you think he uses these kind of tactics at home when he gets into arguments with Jennifer Holland? I feel very sorry for her if he does. But yeah, I like Matt Reeves a lot. I like what he did with that first The Batman quite a bit. I still maintain it's 20 minutes too long, but I think we are at this threshold where, you know, we got to get an update of some kind, or as much as I love Robert Pattinson in the role and the Penguin spinoff and everything that's, you know, come from this universe, might be time to pull the plug if something doesn't start to happen, because, you know, people want their Batman on the big screen. Mm-hmm. So all that being said, I really, really enjoyed the Peacemaker trailer. It did exactly what I wanted it to do in terms of teasing all of the characters, all the gags, all of the shenanigans, but then also giving us a little bit of insight into how does this work? How does this fit into the continuity? And we don't have any solid answers, but seeing what appears to be a multiversal version. At first I thought it was time travel, but I think if you do zoom in on the particular frames of the trailer there, you can see that this is a version of Chris that went on to maybe be in his father's favor and maybe follow his father's footsteps. So really interesting stuff there. And the fact that they are showcasing the Superman characters in such close proximity to that movie coming out, I think it speaks to some confidence and hopefully a little bit of the humor that we will be seeing from Superman that I don't think has been really on display outside of some of the stuff with Crypto. So.
Yeah, the fact that they're making it canon. So, I mean, he's said that all of Peacemaker season 1 is canon except for that the post-credit scene. So, like,
right.
The thing is, though, this bringing in the Rick Flag, which even season 1 talks about the death of Rick Flag, but Rick Flag Sr. coming in season 2 and that being a major plot point means that the Suicide Squad is also canon, at least in some form, and it's very strange. He's sort of like backfilling all the stuff he did in the old DC EU and just being like, yeah, it all still counts. That is very strange, and like everything else is going to go away. We're going to replace everyone else, but the characters that I built on and made, those still happened. That's just really weird, really, really weird. But overall, the trailer seems exciting. I didn't even think about the multiversal thing. I thought it was time travel. That's the thing that popped into my head, that we're going to see some sort of timey-wimey thing. But yeah, the multiversal stuff makes sense. If that's how they're explaining the shift, that doesn't really make sense with with what has been said before. But who knows? I have no idea what they're going to do. And it being so connected to the Superman movie and the Suicide Squad movie is just so strange for me. Like, what is this new universe? It's going to be real strange when you try to, you sit down and watch a canon, like I'm going to watch all the old 2000s X-Men movies, and that's a mess too. Believe me, it's quite a mess. But when you do that, you know where to start and you know which ones go. And it's like, if you want to start the new DCU canon, it's like, well, before you watch the Superman, which is clearly the launch title, you got to go back and watch these like other connective tissue stuff.
This 20 minutes of this episode.
Right. Yeah. It's very weird. It's gonna make for a weird and very unclean break from the DCEU.
Well, and there's other characters too. It's not just Peacemaker. You've got his whole team too.
Right.
Like they got to get there somehow. So yeah, it's like you got to that whole team's with him. So you're talking about like 4 or 5 other people that got to come along for the ride too somehow.
And maybe Rick Flag Sr.
Yeah, like I don't know if he's going to have a good answer to this in the show or if it's just kind of going to be like a Deadpool type thing. Like, all right, we're in this new universe now and you just have to accept it, which I don't care. To be honest, like I don't care about that. That's totally fine with me. If they want to do that, like honestly, that's freeing. Like if you're just going to just be like, this is a character now and you sort of know him, but just don't think too much about it. Like I'm fine with that, to be honest. But yeah, it's a weird place because he wants the thing because he made the thing, and it's clear that he wants the thing in his new thing. Like he wants to bring the toy from the old house to the new house, and he's just got to figure out a way to make it make sense.
Yeah.
It is worth mentioning that Frank Grillo's Rick Flag Sr. actually is a crossover character from Creature Commandos. So we've been talking about Superman as the launch of the DCU, but Creature Commandos was the soft launch.
That's true.
DCU.
Yeah.
Right. But even that, if I'm not mistaken, that was in production before he got the big job. And that was also just like, I'm already making this show and I'm going to just say it's the launch of the... So it's the same thing as Peacemaker in a way, like that, especially being animation. It was the scripts were probably written a long time before he had the big job. So yeah, all of it is just very strange.
And Weasel's in that show, who's in the Suicide Squad.
Right.
So Sean Gunn could potentially play 4 characters between Calendar Man, Maxwell Lord, Weasel, and G.I. Robot.
Hey, he's just getting started.
Oh, yeah.
That's some nepotism if I ever heard it.
One last thing I wanted to mention about Batman, just in the DCU, and I think that's the thing here, is like, that's why people... James Gunn particularly like needs to know, because he has a universe he wants to bring in. He has got Superman, he's got a Green Lantern coming down the highway, but he needs to get a Wonder Woman, he needs to get a Batman, he needs to get a Flash, like he needs an Aquaman, like these main characters to actually do a Justice League. And the Batman is in such limbo that it's like, what are you doing in the DCU? Andy Muschietti this week what popped up in the news because Skydance paid $2 million for a package of a sci-fi story called Drift. It's like a short story in a movie, and Andy Muschietti is going to direct that thing. So he's got things coming up. He's going to be busy. I don't think he's going to be directing any Batman movie for the DCU.
Right.
So who knows? There's a lot still to figure out with that.
Turns out building a cinematic universe is hard.
It is complicated, yeah.
And as much as I wanted to believe that James Gunn had this like vision and thrust that he was going to be able to pull everything together, you got to have this weird balance, and that's why I thought the 2 co-heads was a good idea. You got to have a balance between the vision story-wise and the ability to put the teams together for these movies and get them on the set on the right day to film the movie so it comes out the right summer. Like, it's a tricky thing to do.
And now we've got Swamp Thing off the table. We're rewriting Clayface. We have no plan for Batman. It's just, it's a little messy.
It is seeming a little messy, which is so terrible. I feel like as a DC fan myself and someone who has been, critical of these last 10 years or whatever, I'm really disappointed that we're going to be talking about it's James Gunn's fault. He releases all this information from behind the scenes. So before we've even seen anything to be excited about, we're arguing about the behind the scenes drama. And I'm just like, oh, come on.
Somebody take his phone privileges away.
For sure.
We're getting ready to launch the DCU and we're sitting here arguing about Peacemaker's canon status. It's like,
yeah, it's crazy.
Still.
What have you done to us, James?
This is your fault, James.
Look what I've become.
All right, up next, it's a tangled web we weave in terms of Spidey news this week, as Amazon's Spider-Noir series released a first image of Nick Cage in the title role, followed by what appeared to be an official trailer that was subsequently removed and scrubbed from the internet. On the film side, Spider-Man Brand New Day has added the Bear star Liza Colon Zayas in an undisclosed role. What do we make of these developments? Did any of us get a glimpse of the Noir trailer before its prompt extermination?
So a little bit of a real-time update for you. We discovered that official trailer was not so official, which makes a lot of sense the way it was ripped from the internet the way that it was. But I unfortunately did not, well, fortunately, unfortunately, it ended up being an AI-generated trailer, so I didn't get to see it. I don't feel like I'm missing all that much. I still would have liked to see it just to be able to talk about it a little bit. But I will hone in on the first look that we got there, and not a lot to go off of. It is just a still of, I guess it's Nick Cage in the costume from what we've heard. Yeah, and he's doing the thwip thing. And my takeaway is that it looks great. The blacks are really rich blacks. The whites are overexposed. So I think they are utilizing some special effects to vamp it up a little bit, make the whites of his eyes unnaturally white and some of those highlights, what have you. So I really like the texturing. It doesn't seem like Amazon skimped out or cheaped out on the practical effects here. There's a lot of different textures you can see, from the mask to the clothing to even his gloves. So Spider-Man Noir is a character that I don't have too much familiarity with outside of his appearance in Into the Spider-Verse. And then I think there was a video game, Shattered Webs or Webs of Deception or something like that he popped up in. But I don't know a ton about like the way his power set works, if it's like practical or if he has the spinnerets or what. So I'm interested to see what that looks like in this 1930s kind of noir style. I have to imagine they're going to do something. I'm just imagining whips for some reason, like Indiana Jones style. He's whipping and thwipping that way, but we'll see if I'm right about that when we actually get an official trailer. Jumping over to Spider-Man Brand New Day and the addition of Lisa Colón-Zayas in this role. Again, not a lot to go off of here, but if I had to make a guess at this point in time, if Miles Morales does end up being a part of this new movie and they start to set that character up, I think she's a perfect Rio Morales based on her performance in The Bear. She has a young son that pops up a little bit in that, and we get to find out a little bit like what a source of inspiration that is for her in terms of like bettering herself, gaining new skills, and just climbing the ladder. Rio is a character that does a similar thing in the political sphere for New York. So we've heard more and more that the TV side and movie side of things are going to be separated, but if she does end up playing Rio and she could go toe-to-toe with Vincent D'Onofrio's Kingpin, I'd be a pretty happy Spidey fan over here.
Yeah, I think that's a great call, that the Miles Morales' mom thing. And that's a lot of the internet conversation was around that too, was like, look, it's time. Like, it's time to introduce this character. It's time to get a Miles Morales in this thing. Like, we're gearing up for these crossovers. Tom Holland's kind of probably sort of seeing the light at the end of the tunnel. Like, it's time to hand off the torch to a new character. So if that ends up being the case, I love that call, and I would love that casting. Also should be mentioned, too, the Spider-Noir thing. They said in the announcement that it'll be available in black and white and color, which I thought was
interesting. That's what I was going to say, Jay.
Oh, I'm sorry. Well,
I was just double checking the article. I was like, do I remember this? I was like, did I make this up, or was this on the AI video and so it wasn't real? No, it's real. Yeah, they're releasing it in color too, and it's like, well, okay. Like, they did that with Werewolf by Night, but after the fact, and I think that would have, because people are like, well, why would we watch it? Anyway, whatever. It's a choice. I will say, for one thing, Amazon does not skimp on the production value of their shows. From the few Amazon produced shows that I've watched, I haven't seen a ton that were like original, but and I'll even pull Blake Lively's latest Disaster, Another Simple Favor. Like, she's a mess, but that movie is beautiful. It's shot beautifully. It looks gorgeous. And so they really go for the looks of things. And I agree that the photo of Spider-Noir looks really good, whether it's Nick Cage or not. I mean, it could be me for all you know. Keep that one close to the vest. But I have read some Spider-Man Noir comics. They're fun if you like that kind of time frame and that style of stuff. I still always go back to Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. That last season, the Noir episode is my favorite episode of that final season of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. It's so good. So I'm really looking forward to this show. I think it's just going to be kind of floating off in Spider-Verse on its own, just chilling.
My hope is that the color version just adds like bangs and pals to the in color, and it stays black and white, because I don't like the idea of this in color. I think they made a choice, like, stick with that choice, and I feel like that's the vibe of the thing, both in comics and in what we've seen in Spider-Verse and stuff. So like, I don't really want a color version, but I'll be really interested in what that looks like. I wonder if like there's a little bit of like, okay, we're putting out a Spider-Man thing. Kids love Spider-Man. Kids do not watch old black and white things, and this is going to already have like this vibe of an old show. And I wonder if they're like, we got to at least put out a jazzy version in color for the kiddos. I don't know. Needs to be red and blue so that they know it's Spider-Man.
Except he's not red and blue, so it doesn't even matter.
Is he? I don't know what color
he's not,
he is.
because he's just in black in a trench coat.
Right.
That could be a blue trench coat. You never know.
Could be
it's not.
It could be a blue trench coat and a red thing. It's just black and white.
I don't accept that. Carmen Sandiego trench coat.
Yeah. All right. Well, we got a lot coming up after the break. We've got the Godzilla x Kong sequel gets a title. Jessica Jones is back. Ooh. Amazon greenlights a Creed spin-off series and renews Fallout for a third season, and a whole lot more. Stay tuned. Welcome back to Multiverse News. We have a Patreon, you guys. Patreon.com/Multiverse Newscast. And I think Jay's going to tell us about it this week.
We do have a Patreon, and it is only $4 a month, which is basically $1 an episode. So, you do one less coffee a month. You've already paid for your Patreon subscription to Multiverse News. You've supported the show. You've gotten a free sticker sent to you. You've gotten access to the live stream. And you get ad-free episodes that you can pop right into your feed, and you can listen to those, and you don't have to get interrupted for like an ad about whatever, your local mechanic shop, or, I don't know, whatever ads happen on these podcasts. I don't know. I had one in Spanish the other day, and I was like, why is this happening? But you wouldn't have to do that. It would just be totally ad-free. So you have that. And yeah, you get to interact with us over there, and we have special polls, and we have special episodes sometimes where we'll just talk about stuff for like 20 minutes, so you get all that. So we try to make it worth your while. So giveaways sometimes, you definitely get your $4 back in love from us. So, so check it out. Patreon.com/Multiverse Newscast.
Haley looks uncomfortable.
What are you giving the patrons?
That's the secret tier. You have to pay more for that.
Well, we also shout out one of our Patreon members every single week as a sign of affection and appreciation for the support. And this week we're shouting out David Brewer. Thanks for the support, David Brewer.
Thank you, David Brewer. Love it. Appreciate all you patrons. And let's dive into our Spotify poll for this week. I was kind of surprised at the uniformity of this week's Spotify poll. We asked, where is Thunderbolts in your MCU rankings? And I didn't want to make a million options, so like I just did some options. And first, It's the Worst got 0%. I think that's pretty safe. Lower 50% also got 0%. So everyone that answered the poll thought it was at least in the top 50%. And 63% of you said top 50%. 32% of you said top 5 Marvel movies, and 4.3% of you said favorite MCU film.
Wow.
I'm never gonna, crap on somebody's opinion, but I have a hard time putting it in the top 5, but I think you'd have to be crazy to not put it in the top 50. Like, I think, 50%. Like, I think I'm thinking about some of these back-end MCU movies, and, I can shave off half pretty fast, I think. There's been like 30 of them, at this point.
Right.
There's been some duds in there. So, yeah, I thought it was great. I loved it. Yeah. I don't know if I wouldn't put it in the top 5, I don't think, but I think it's definitely up there. It might be in a conversation at the top 10 for me if I sat down and actually ironed this whole thing out.
Yeah, I haven't sat down to do it, but I think it's probably in the top 10 for me too. It's really hard to beat some things, but just as a standalone movie, not thinking about how it connects and how it's like, Endgame's amazing. Endgame's probably one of my favorites, but it's really hard to compare to any of the standalone stuff. If we're just ranking it on standalones, it's easily top 5 for me. And by standalone, I mean,
take the Avengers out. Yeah.
Yeah, which you can't really do with this one in a way, but you kind of can, because there's it's a disputed name they've got now. But yeah. All right. Well, let's get to our lightning round. This is where I'm going to read a story, and everybody can shout out their name to claim that story, and they are the only one that gets to respond to it. But once per lightning round, you get to do a rebuttal. So use your rebuttals wisely. Here we go. Per a Jeff the Snyder scoop/rumor, the upcoming Vision series starring Paul Bettany will be the last Marvel TV series to feature major characters from the films. Matt, I'm jumping on this one because I don't think this is true. I think this guy has a lot of like great insights, this Jeff Snyder guy, but like I just don't see it. I don't see it at all. I think even if it's they've got Disney Plus. They want to keep Disney Plus going. They're making all these Star Wars shows. Like, I think they're going to continue to make things that are connected into the bigger universe. And I can't imagine, even if they're not going to make shows based on the main characters that are like, I think there's no way they're not doing cameos or some sort of crossover stuff. That would just be such a step back for the TV side of Marvel to be like, I understand the need to like separate a little bit. I think that's smart. I think making like shows like Daredevil is smart because people loved it when Netflix did it. People love it now. Do more of that. Make great shows that stand alone. But the idea that they can't like cross over, I mean, yeah, I just think it's silly. Even in Daredevil, you've got, Kamala Khan's dad showing up, like little connections. It makes the stuff work really well, and I think they're going to continue doing that.
Yeah, I'll chime on this one to say, not only is it you got to take it with a grain of salt because not only is it a rumor, but you also got to bear in mind Jeff Snyder. He's not a Marvel guy. He's a Hollywood guy. He's an industry guy. So what does major character mean in his estimation? To him, Yusuf Khan is not a major character. Yeah. So I think you're right. You will still continue to see some characters cross over. But in terms of the TV series being required viewing for the films, I think he's absolutely right. And that's everything that we've heard.
That rumor I would have believed. I just don't believe it. I think like it is totally possible that we'll get all the biggest characters will still cross over once in a while. Every once in a while we'll see one show up in a show. But like, I do think they're going to make them not required viewing. I think that's like the direction they're heading in. All right, during Disney's upfront presentation, Jessica Jones star Kristen Ritter confirmed that she will be returning to the role in the MCU in the second season of Daredevil Born Again.
And that means she won't be showing up in any movies.
According to the last story. I think this was something like everybody kind of knew, and they finally put her on the stage and said it's real. It's like, cool, great.
Yep.
She's like dropped enough hints in her Instagram.
100%. Warner Brothers has slated the next Lord of the Rings film, subtitled The Hunt for Gollum, for a December 17th, 2027 release. The film, which sees Andy Serkis returning to not only star but also direct, was announced last summer for a 2026 release, originally before being delayed by a year.
Scotty, yeah, we talked about this one when it was first announced earlier this summer, and it continues to be one that I'm just kind of holding at arm's length. I understand why they want to do it, but I think this is just a story that kind of already comes with some baggage and some expectations. And there was a video game that came out like a year ago that was just like panned across the board for being so terrible. So I think it has a little bit of that stank on it. But it also, Andy Serkis, and I know I've talked about this, but he just does not have the best track record when it comes to directing for me. So I'm a little dubious. Now, the part that I do like is the release date of December 17th, because I can recall going to see, I think I saw The Two Towers for sure on December 17th, but I think it might have been Return of the King that came out on December 17th as well. So I kind of like that. Lord of the Rings is kind of reclaiming the holidays. I mean, we had a movie that came out last holiday season, the animated feature, that did not do very well, but I would kind of like to see a flip-flop between Star Wars and Lord of the Rings or whatever other properties to kind of like reclaim the holidays and let Star Wars go back to being like a summer kind of event thing, just because that's how it was when I was a kid, and maybe I'm just, in my nostalgia era currently. So.
Author Tess Sharp will be releasing a young adult novel focusing on Yelena Belova, titled White Widow: Secret Sisters. The novel will be released on September 2nd.
Haley, I love a Marvel novel. There are 2 other Black Widow novels and one of them has Yelena in it as well, and they're really, really good. So, especially somebody like me, I like spy stuff and all that. I think I'm really gonna enjoy this book, and who doesn't want more Yelena Belova right now?
True. Warner Brothers and Legendary announced last week that Godzilla x Kong Supernova is the new title for the forthcoming movie that is set for theatrical release March 26, 2027. A teaser video was also released to mark the start of production on the 6th film in the series.
Scotty? Now, I say this as a fan of cartoons and animation, but I really feel like they have just fully embraced, like, we are going to be the biggest, highest budget Saturday morning cartoon that you can catch on the big screen. And I'm down for that. Now, I think what they've been able to do up until this point, and I hope they are able to continue to do, that would separate them from something like Transformers, which I think you could say the same thing about, is the human characters. And a lot of the casting that we've been hearing about this new movie does kind of give me that hope of that promise that the human characters may be disposable, but at least there'll be something enjoyable for the ride, before they bite it. So Supernova, on the surface, it's a title I would roll my eyes at, but I think it works perfectly for this franchise.
Mm-hmm. Marvel Studios' Thunderbolts kept the number 1 spot on a relatively quiet weekend at the box office, earning $33.1 million for a 10-day North American total of $128.5 million and $272.2 million globally. Ryan Coogler's hit Sinners crossed the $200 million mark at the domestic box office for a worldwide total of nearly $300 million. In the second victory for Warner Brothers, a Minecraft movie zoomed past $900 million in a global ticket sales and is on track to become the first billion-dollar movie of the 2025.
Jay, no surprises here. We kind of expected, that Thunderbolts would be where it is, where Sinners would be where it is, and where Minecraft movie would be where it is. So, success in varying degrees across the board. But up next, we have Mission Impossible, and we have Memorial Day weekend, which is traditionally a pretty good weekend for movies. So it'll be interesting to check back in on the box office with these 3 films, but then adding Mission Impossible to the mix when we get to that point here in a week.
Yeah, but I guess I'll rebuttal this. I worry for it being a quiet weekend at the box office, and I was really hoping Thunderbolts would do really well on the second weekend and just take in a big. And it was obviously it's never going to be bigger than the first weekend, but a really strong showing on the second weekend, and so that's a bummer for me. I really was hoping Thunderbolts would do better, but and with Mission Impossible coming out, I feel like it's going to take that spotlight away, and it's not going to have the legs maybe we thought it would, but we'll see. Peacock has released a first look image and an official title for the upcoming The Office spin-off series. The series, titled The Paper, will follow a struggling newspaper based out of Toledo, Ohio, and is now set to premiere in September.
Haley, and there's an Oscar Nunez cameo in the photo. So if you want that crossover, it's there. I kind of forgot about this show, not going to lie. I still want to know if it's going to be The Office or if it's going to be more Parks and Rec. And I think that in this day and age, humor-wise, you lean a little more towards the Parks and Rec, where it's like we're just following them as these follies happen rather than they're making some of the follies happen, if that makes sense. Especially as you're talking about like the slow decay of an entire industry, which is what has happened with print journalism.
Mm-hmm. I'm gonna take an illegal rebuttal.
You scolded us at the top, and look at you now.
It's my fault. I know. I'm the villain here. It's fine.
I'm the villain here.
I just completely agree with you, Haley. And it's choosing it to be. The thing about a paper company that was genius is it was a dying industry, and that's the whole, kind of the point of why The Office works well as like that type of thing, because it was the internet was taking over, and they're a paper company. It's like a useless thing that we don't need as much of anymore, and their company is dying, and they're this weird vestigial office. but there's nothing valiant about a paper company, but like print journalism, there's like a real need for, especially like local news. And like, it'll be weird if they don't touch on that fact. But it's weird if they do for The Office, because the whole point of The Office is I don't know, The Office itself isn't supposed to be this thing that you like believe in, it's sort of supposed to be a soul sucking job. And so that I do think that's going to set a stranger tone for the series than the original.
Yeah, that's what excites me the most about it, because that was a plot point of The Office, was that this industry is dying. Like, how can you? There's this paperless world. We're going online. We're getting our offices are going to computers. We don't need paper anymore like we used to, and that they wrestled with that throughout the seasons and trying to figure out how to deal with that. And it got a little weird towards the end, with getting bought out and stuff, but there's a legitimate kind of story there with the paper. And then I love the fact, just as the side, that it's set in Toledo, Ohio, just like how The Office was set in Scranton, which is just like a nowhere town, and like put them on the map. And I think that's cool. I famously bought Peacock a year ago to watch an NFL game and then forgot to cancel it. And so I still have it. And I'm trying to decide if I want to keep it and watch this or not. We'll see.
There's a lot on Peacock to watch.
Yeah. I need to just submit and just keep it, I guess. They got me.
Speaking on Scranton, I don't know if I've ever told you this on a podcast or not, but I may have, because we've talked about The Office here before. But Scranton, my family went to Scranton once when I was a child, and I was a little kid, and we went, and it was like a Sunday. We pulled into town, and literally nothing was open. And so my family, my whole life, have talked about how that weird town Scranton where we saw 0 people, it's the most boring town in the world. And then The Office came out, and it was like Scranton, this like boring, sleepy town. And we were like, oh my gosh. And it's also when they're flying, or they're trying to drive, they're driving home in Home Alone. They're trying to get home, and when the mom is with the band, they go to Scranton.
Oh, John Candy.
It's John Candy's crew, and they end up going through Scranton, and it's like, it's just a funny thing, that town is just known for being a boring place.
You missed the Anthracite Coal Museum? Dang.
Right. Michael B. Jordan will produce a series set in the Creed universe for Amazon Prime Video. The series, titled Delphi, will take place at the titular boxing gym and focus on the young athletes who populate the ring. Matt, this is awesome. I love the Rocky universe. I love the Creed movies. Michael B. Jordan being involved is really exciting. I'm assuming he will be, somewhere in the show as Creed. But I think I'm gonna be like emotionally wrecked by this show. Like, I feel like those movies and the whole like drama around boxing and like achieving it and like losing or winning is always such an emotional experience in a 2-hour movie. I feel like over the course of a season, I'm going to get so much more invested and feel like so much more heartbroken or elated when things happen, which is great. But I fear that this will be an emotional experience for me, which I don't know why I fear that, but I do.
Don't fear your emotions, Matt.
I do.
I'm ready to get hurt again.
Always telling Marvel to lie to me. I'm gonna be like, Creed or Delphi, hurt me, Delphi, hurt me.
It's so good.
All right, Amazon Prime Video has renewed video game adaptation series Fallout for a 3rd season and have its season 2 premiere this December.
Jay, this shows confidence. We have not seen season 2 yet, and yet they are saying we are going to go ahead and start on season 3. So I think they know what it is. I think they know that it's one of their most successful properties. Season 1 was a slam dunk, in my opinion. And also in the announcement for this, some of the talent attached to the show mentioned that the plan initially is for about 5 or 6 seasons, that they really want to develop the characters here. Plus, we're in our Walton Goggins era, just as a society, and so if he's in it, let's keep making it.
Yeah, you got to. Jude Law and Andrew Garfield are set to play Las Vegas showmen / magicians Siegfried and Roy in the newly picked up Apple TV Plus limited series Wild Things from writer, showrunner, and executive producer John Hoffman.
Haley, I actually think both of these guys will do a good job. We saw in Skeleton Crew Jude Law do this kind of zany pirate character, and he can pull off funny and wacky and also scary. And so I think too with Andrew Garfield, he was in Tick Tick Boom, which was based on Jonathan Larson's life, so he's got that showmanship quality as well. And so this sounds fun. I'm just kind of all on board the Apple train at this point.
Me too. Emmy and Golden Globe nominee Elizabeth Olsen has joined Kristen Stewart and Oscar Isaac to co-star in vampire thriller set in the 80s, Flesh of the Gods, from director Panos Cosmatos.
Scotty, talk about a stacked cast. I think there's only one performer here that I would even qualify as somewhat of a weak link, and even they have delivered quite a few performances that I really enjoy. So, yeah, an 80s set vampire thriller. I think Sinners just proved that vampires kind of work in any time period if you bring the goods. So I think the 80s would be a really cool place to see some vampires, especially when you got Elizabeth Olsen, Kristen Stewart, and Oscar Isaac in the mix.
Some hot vampires. Kevin Harrison Jr., who voiced Scar in Disney's Mufasa the Lion King, has joined the ever-growing cast of Lionsgate's latest installment of the Hunger Games franchise, the adaptation of the latest Susan Collins bestseller, Sunrise of the Reaping.
Scotty, I always wanted a brother. If you know, I'll leave it at that.
Haley's I don't know.
I don't
care.
I'm not even on TikTok, but it's still, I was able to discover that it was a TikTok trend that they would just take that line from that song in the movie and just do it over and over again. So
yeah,
I've
heard that.
Yeah.
Oh, is that from the Lion King?
Yeah. When Scar is a young cub, he is his name is Taka, and that's kind of like his introduction song to Mufasa's I always wanted a brother. So.
I've heard that on TikTok and had no idea where it came from or anything about it. So I was just like, I understood the reference to the TikTok. I didn't understand how it connected to the story at all.
Well, it doesn't really connect to the story. I was just using it for a gag. I mean, what can you say here? I haven't read Sunrise on the Reaping. I know it's focusing on Haymitch, who is Woody Harrelson's character from the films. It's going to go back and show that the first Hunger Games that he participated in. So don't know much about the characters apart from that, but Kelvin Harrison is a performer who has showed up in everything that he's appeared in so far. So I think it's a great addition.
Sweet. If the internet rumor mill is to be believed, the trailer for Disney Plus Ironheart series will drop Wednesday, May 14th, alongside the announcement that its 3-episode premiere airs June 24th. Wow, 3-episode premiere. And they're dropping it on the day after we have our podcast. You jerks.
Kevin and James are just conspiring against us together now.
Yeah, they have a group chat. Where they're like, I'll release the Superman trailer on Wednesday if you release the Ironheart trailer on Wednesday.
Let's make them very angry. Let's make the Multiverse News very angry.
3-episode premiere is interesting.
Yeah, I was going to say, this is one of Ironheart. We're getting to the end of the remnants of the Marvel Cinematic Universe without all of Feige's guiding hand on it. I think that's all I kind of need to say about that. I want it to succeed, but I think Disney is doing what they're doing, knowing what the reaction to the show will probably be. It's going to be less viewership, stuff like that.
Yeah, there was a little video that was put out today by Marvel about kind of like the creative aspect behind Ironheart, and there was like a little bit of comics and some kind of footage that's going to be in the trailer tomorrow and everything like that. And they had Ryan Coogler front and center because he did not direct this, but he was an executive producer on it. And, he introduced the character in Black Panther Wakanda Forever. So he was the one, and that makes total sense. Like, they're like, yeah, you got a really successful movie at the box office right now. Like, everybody knows your name. Like, can you get out here and attach your name to this thing, please? Like, publicly in front of everyone. So... Yeah, but we've seen Marvel do it before. They put out these shows and then they have a movie like right around the corner. I mean, this will be just a few weeks away from Fantastic Four. We'll basically wrap up Ironheart and then, because what is 6 episodes, I think, total? So we'll just be halfway through on premiere and then 3 weeks and Fantastic Four right there. So
wow. It seems like that might be the plan, is to try to wrap up Ironheart before That's so they don't have two things running at the same time. They've done good with that lately, but it's also mean they've had a lot of packed weeks, like the double weeks during Daredevil and stuff. All right. Universal has dropped the first trailer for Nobody 2, starring Bob Odenkirk. The action film, directed by Timo Tchajanto, hits theaters on August 15th.
Scotty, I caught this one right before we started recording, and it was a good trailer. To give a little insight into the world of Nobody, the first film focused on Bob Odenkirk's character, and he was kind of depressed and not too happy with himself because he was prioritizing his family and being a family man and being kind of a schlub for it when he had all these insane skills, fighting skills. So he's basically kind of like the Equalizer. It's like the Equalizer, but less serious. It's the Equalizer, but tongue-in-cheek. Let's be a little more cavalier and fun with it. So in this one, you kind of see the opposite, where he has embraced his ways again, but he's eschewing his responsibilities as a family man, and you start to see the impact that that's having on his family. So I think with this, I can call it a franchise now, but this duology of movies, what they have done the best so far is they kind of feel like a little bit of a lampoon on similar action movies. And this trailer particularly, like I was feeling the Equalizer vibes, but then the last like 30 seconds of this trailer were my favorite because it was an obvious homage to John Wick, even with like the neon lighting in the background, all these mirrors, and him just being up against insurmountable odds. It looks like it's going to be a lot of fun. So I look forward to it.
There's a behind the camera connection to John Wick too. Isn't the first movie either directed by or same stunt
87
team
North,
like that?
Chad Stahelski. So he was, good call. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's it's funny. It feels directly like a link to that because I mean it is, but also like them kind of lampooning themselves maybe a little bit. Like I always like when that happens.
Definitely.
All right, well that's our stories for this week. Let's go around and tell people where they can find us online. Jay Sisson.
Weekly at Commute the Podcast is where you can find me on Monday mornings, and we are also covering The Last of Us on Always Watching. So if you are not subscribed to Always Watching, please do that. It's not the only show that's being covered over there at the moment. So we got a lot going on, and I think there are 2 episodes of The Last of Us left, I think, at this point. So
that's right. Yeah.
We're getting close to wrapping it up.
Yeah, crazy. Wait, is it 2 or is it 1?
I think it's 2, because 5, 6 and 7. Yeah.
Oh, okay. We'll talk about it later. I could have sworn we talked about it today in chat. We said it was 6 episodes. Or is it different?
We were talking about 2
shows?
different shows.
That was
Ironheart.
Oh gosh. Sorry. Y'all said that in the chat, and I thought you somehow connected it to a different chat we were having, and I got confused. I thought we said it wrong on the podcast last night. Okay, and Haley Hobbs, what's going on?
We may or may not have an episode of Source Pages this week. It's just a busy time of year with school and work, but we'll be back next week doing something. And then tonight's the last night of Andor season finale, those 3 episodes. So Ash, Scotty, and Jeff and I will be wrapping that up at the end of the week. Next week, Mission Impossible, Final Reckoning, woohoo! And then Ash and I have started a Twitch series where we take 15 minutes to chit chat about random topics. So keep an eye on the Facebook group for that information because we will be posting that there.
Sweet. And J. Scotty St. Clair.
Yeah, please check out that Always Watching coverage for not only Andor Season 2, but The Last of Us Season 2. And I am definitely looking forward to being back on Bingers for Mission Impossible. And then you can also check me out on friend of the show, Sarah Day McDougal's podcast, Book Watch. It just launched, and I joined her for the first couple of episodes talking about that first Hunger Games film as well as the book. So check it out.
Sweet. All right, well, and you can find me all over the Stranded Panda Podcast Network, Marvel Cinematic Universe Podcast. We had, if they drop that Ironheart trailer tomorrow, we're going to hop on and do a trailer review of that. And we've got tons of Thunderbolts feedback. Like you can always tell when a Marvel movie hits just by our inbox size. And it's a lot. There's a lot to talk about. A lot of you guys have been excited and sending in stuff. So check out the MCU cast. And I'm also over there on Always Watching. So yeah, thanks guys. Peace.
You stay classy, Multiverse.
Hey, thanks for listening to Multiverse News, or watching it, or whatever you're doing, eyeballs or ear holes, whichever thing. We do this show every week, and we appreciate you listening. StrandedPanda.com is where you can find all of our podcasts. And thank you for listening. Check us out wherever you get podcasts. Hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, hit the little bell icon, whatever you have on whatever service you're doing. Rate us, like us. We're really thirsty. That's what I'm saying.